Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. I just took down a video I posted about 5 minutes ago on the Katsidis, Michael Lozada fight. In reviewing the odds, I'm going to change my strategy just a little bit. Before I go further, just remember the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. According to oddschecker.com, and this is for the Katsidis-Lozada fight going off August 13th, next weekend. According to oddschecker.com, Katsidis is a huge favorite, something like 41 to 1. What that means is that the casino believes that if these two fought 42 times, Katsidis would win 41 of the 42 matches. You know, I believe that Katsidis probably wins this fight by stoppage. Lozada looked so bad to me in rounds 5 and 6 against Paulie Malignaggi, who does not have a punch, right? Who is one-handed. That I am inclined to believe that Lozada probably folds up in this fight like a cheap lawn chair, right? Lozada, very poor survival skills, has a problem clinching, right? Didn't seem to know what to do against Malignaggi, who, quite frankly, very rarely gets knockouts, right? Take a look at his record. People who study Malignaggi know that he doesn't have a right hand. And yet, Lozada was unable to tie up Malignaggi. He seemed to be wide open for what Malignaggi wanted to do. He turned Malignaggi, who's a mover, who moves away from you, into a stalker. Right? When I see a guy with survival skills that are this bad, and he's facing a stalker in Michael Katsidis, I'm expecting there to be combustion. I'm expecting a knockout in the fight. Here's where it gets interesting, right? I'm expecting Katsidis to get the knockout. But here's where it gets interesting. You know, the casino is giving you, and this is purely an odds play, it's a black swan type of play. And by that, with a nod to economist Nassim Taleb, what I'm saying is that the odds of Lozada getting a knockout are small, right? In a shootout, Katsidis probably will have the upper hand, especially since Lozada doesn't seem to really be able to fight inside, and Katsidis is going to try to get in his chest. But here's the kicker. According to oddschecker.com, Lozada, who has a greater than 60% knockout percentage, let me repeat that. He has a greater than 60% knockout percentage, is a 25 to 1 long shot to get the KO. Right? Understand, he's a KO puncher. Think about the human head. Think about your head. If a guy is able to give other people concussions, he certainly has a chance in a fight that promises to be a bit of a shootout, where Katsidis is going to be over-aggressive coming forward. Lozada certainly has a better than 4% chance of getting the knockout. Right? They're giving you 25 to 1 odds on Lozada by KO. On Katsidis by KO, you're getting 1 to 7 odds. In other words, bet 70 to win $10. My point to you is simply this. While I believe this fight is unbettable because the odds are too long, right? I've never heard of a minus 700 on a guy to win by KO before, right? While I believe that this fight's unbettable, If you, like me, believe that there is no way that this fight makes it to the end of the 10th round, you actually have a straddle opportunity because there's a huge gap between the minus 700 Katsidis by KO and the plus 2,500. That's what it is. It's a plus 2,500 on Lozada by KO. The bet I'm recommending in this fight, after looking at the odds a little bit further, I always double check myself, is I like Katsidis by KO straddled against Lozada by KO. Right? I personally wouldn't bet on this fight, but if you're a heavy hitter and you want a chance at a black swan, a 25-1 shot, Michael Lozada by KO, my point to you is, on a fighter who knocks out more than 60% of his opponents, granted, these opponents aren't world-class opponents, but again, if a guy hits hard enough to knock out even a guy who's not world-class, then in my opinion, if he gets a clean shot on a championship boxer, he can take him out. And as skeptics of Michael Katsidis know, Katsidis actually got dropped hard by Graham Earl. Not only that, take a look at Katsidis against Juan Manuel Marquez. You're going to see Katsidis getting hit flush. Right? Katsidis is at the part of his career where he's a little shop worn, and opponents are hitting him flush. So if anyone is vulnerable to getting hit flush by an overmatched opponent, it would be a shop-worn fighter who is a bit too aggressive. Right? Let's remember, Kevin McBride was able to stop Mike Tyson. It happens. So my point is simply this. I'm expecting a stoppage in this fight. If you're an over-under type, I like the under in this fight. But more significantly, if the under is reasonable, let's say 7.5 rounds or something like that, not a 4.5 over-under, right? I'm expecting a stoppage, but my point to you is, get all 10 rounds, take both guys by KO. You actually have your greatest upside with a straddle of Katsidis by KO at minus 700, straddled against Lozada by KO at plus 2,500. Right? My point to you is simply, if Paulie Malignaggi was able to take this guy out, Lozada, and if Lozada was KO'd in the first round 2 fights ago, he's vulnerable to getting stopped by Michael Katsidis. And if Katsidis comes into the fight over-aggressive like he did against Graham Earl, against a guy with a greater than 60% knockout ratio, there's even the chance, and it's greater than 4%, right? What 25-1 would translate to. There's even the chance that he gets sloppy here against a guy with a greater than 60% KO ratio and at least gets knocked down. So I like a KO straddle, both guys by KO. What I don't see happening is this fight going the distance. I know that Katsidis went the distance against Robert Guerrero. But again, keep in mind, that's Robert Guerrero, who might be the best at 140. I mean, you're talking about a world-class talent. I think it's Timothy Bradley, but Guerrero is in the very short conversation on who's the best at 140. Right? Don't be fooled by the fact that Katsidis went the distance in his last fight. Here, I think he's in with a far inferior opponent. I think somebody's going to get knocked out. I expect Katsidis to be very aggressive, and I expect something to happen early in this one. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. And while I don't believe Lozada wins this fight by KO, my point to you is simply, you want to participate in that plus 2,500. You want to have that as part of your straddle. You want Katsidis by KO straddled against Lozada by KO. Thanks for watching.